Hey, oh my goodness, there's so many of you. Thanks, everyone. My name's Janelle Riley. I'm so thrilled to be here tonight with everyone's obsession, red, white, and royal blue. And I'm so thrilled to welcome the creatives who brought this fascinating, wonderful movie to life. And I'm just going to run through them quickly because I want to make the most of this time. So please welcome director, co-writer, executive producer Matthew Lopez. Author, executive producer Casey McQuiston. Producer Sarah Schechter. Producer Greg Berlanti. Actor Rachel Hilson. Actor Uma Thurman. Actor Taylor Zakar Perez. And our Prince Henry, Nicholas Galitzine. Thank you all so much for being here. I always kind of like to start with just a speed round whenever I have people who are as accomplished as each of you. What was your first job in this industry? The first time you felt you could call yourself an actor, or you felt like a director, or whether you were paid or not? And let's start with Nicholas.
My first job in the industry, this is going to sound really self-effacing. It was my first audition I went on, and I got the lead in this tiny little micro-budget movie, but it was a role. And it shot in 18 days, and it was an incredibly formative experience because I didn't know what an eye line was or a mark was. And yeah, that was 10 years ago now, which is crazy to say.
Was this your first audition ever?
Yeah, and I just want to preface, like, it doesn't usually happen like that. So I was very, very lucky.
Did you think, though, this is going to be easy?
Oh, yeah, it's like, this acting thing, it's a breeze. I'm going to be working every week. It's fantastic.
Amazing. Taylor, for you?
Oh, my first paid gig or my first enjoyed gig. Very different. I've been cut out of multiple projects, so I don't know if I can count those. I would say probably the first time I felt like, oh, I've arrived and am enjoying this was this 6-episode comedy I shot in Iowa called Embeds, which nobody has ever seen. But I felt like that was the most exciting project I did, and that made me go, oh, okay, I'm in this. I'm in this to win this.
When they cut you out, did they tell you at least in advance?
Oh, no. No, you call your family and you're like, okay, ABC, 7 p.m. You will see me. It might be brief, but you will see me. And then my mom calls and she's like, I watched the whole show. Where were you? Or the best is when my grandma calls, that's it? Yeah, so that was rough. Oh. And so I kind of just stopped telling anybody that I did anything ever.
Did you tell them about this?
I don't know if I was allowed to. We're in a strike.
That's right. This is the first time you've all actually been able to celebrate together. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Give it up. Uma, for you?
Kind of similar. I was 16 and I got cast in an independent movie, tiny shoestring budget, and I did my own makeup. I did my own hair. I had to find clothes to wear, and no one ever saw the movie either. But I learned a lot. I was like, where's the continuity? Where did I put my fork? It was all up to me. So, and I was on it. Wow. So it was a very good life experience.
Wow. Rachel, for you?
My first gig was actually a dancing gig on this little kids show called Lazy Town, and I was I was shot in Iceland. I like accidentally got this gig. I auditioned for a camp and it ended up backup dancing for Stephanie. So that was.
You sound apologetic about it, but like, good for you.
I'm not apologetic about it. Or a pink wig, it was great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Greg, for you?
I worked on a TV show called Dawson's Creek. That was my first job.
Like right out of the gate, writer's assistant?
I was a staff writer on the show. I'd written a bunch of scripts. I'd written about 10 scripts in Hollywood and was broke and about to go home. And
really?
The creator of the show read my last feature that I wrote and offered me a job. And
Oh, that's fantastic.
it.
That
So
actually
I-
happens. I love that.
It really happens.
Yeah.
My car was booted like 1 block from here, like the week before I got my first job.
Oh my gosh.
I had to borrow money from friends to like get the boot off and register my car in the state, which I had never done, and all this stuff. Here we are, 2 blocks away.
Yeah, here you are now. Did you think when you were getting your boot off your car, one day I'm going to be on a theater stage
No,
2 blocks away?
I was thinking that I would probably get fired from this job after having it for 5 minutes. I think that's what everyone's, probably the commonality, is
Yeah.
sense of dread.
Sarah, for you?
My first, I was a PA on an independent movie in New York that no one ever saw. Maybe Uma was starring in it as a 16-year-old. And I was in charge of lockdown, which is when you convince people not to walk in front of the shot. People in New York don't care.
Nope.
So it was a really hard job.
Nope. Casey?
Well, the first book I sold was this one.
What? Overachiever.
But my first paid writing gig was reviewing new album releases for my college newspaper for $10 per review.
You got paid for college paper?
Yeah, it was $10 whole.
I'm impressed.
Buy a lot of Taco Bell with that.
Was there anyone you absolutely savaged, or were you a kind critic?
I felt too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Matthew, for you?
I had a reading of my very first play in Montclair, New Jersey, and Montclair, and I did not think anybody would come to hear it, and I was kind of praying that they wouldn't. And then I walk in, and there was about 150
Oh my
people
God.
there, and the fact that they didn't torch the place, the fact that I, was survived, and on the other end of it, people seemed to like it. I was like, okay, maybe I can do this.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, again, congratulations on a beautiful, heartwarming film. It's so classic and timeless. And I just want to say, as a fan of the book, thanks for not messing it up. Because when you hear they're adapting a book you love, you do get nervous, and it's such a wonderful movie. And Casey, I know that this is based on your book, which has a very impassioned fan base, and you've brought it to life with this dream team. What did make Greg and Sarah and Matthew sort of the right team for you to say yes to? Because I'm suspecting you had a lot of offers.
I did. I talked to, before, this was March of 2019, so before the book came out, I talked to 9 producers about who was going to make this movie. And then Bree, wherever Bree is, Bree from Amazon came to Colorado where I was living and took me out to lunch and was like, here's why Amazon is the right home. But before that, I had a call with Mike McGrath, who should be here, but is...
It is COVID. It's still there, guys. It's still out there.
But there's this thing in the romance genre of books that we call like the buy-in. It's this sort of unspoken social contract that is very intimate between the author and the reader, where it's like, you agree to be in on this unironically and to give your whole heart to this and to not cringe and to just be in this magical thing with me. And it's really scary to go out into the greater world and try to make that contract with other people outside of this little safe space of the genre. And I felt like when I had my first calls with Berlanti, they bought in, and I felt safe to make that contract with them in like not the literal way, but the emotional way. And I still feel that way.
And then the literal way came next.
Yes, and then the literal way.
I mean, Berlanti Productions has a long history of championing, underrepresented voices and stories, both on screen and off. Can you talk about why this fit so perfectly into your roster?
I think we want to tell stories that haven't been told so many times, and I think there's a lot of people who deserve to see their stories told on big and small screens. And I think we feel both a personal and moral obligation to do that.
Mm-hmm. And who came up with the brilliant idea to have Matthew Lopez make his feature film directing debut?
Well, Matthew Lopez.
Matthew.
Really?
I was so passionate about it. I was lucky enough to be an investor in Matthew's Tony Award-winning play, The Inheritance.
He said The Inheritance.
And so I knew him a little bit through that and his miraculous talent. And he called me. He'd read the book and reached out to me and said, I love this book. I want to participate in it. I want to adapt it. I want to direct it. I want. And we're just circling the rights. And I said, just stay in touch. And then he started talking to Sarah and sort of went from there.
Wow, that's amazing. Matthew, I can't believe that this is your film directorial debut because it is so accomplished right out of the gate. I know you previously won every award imaginable for The Inheritance. What made this the film? Had you been looking to make your feature film debut for some time?
I had been, and I had spent like many years working on The Inheritance, which is long and you know, about serious things. And then this book came along and I was like, this is about serious things, but in a much different way. And I really fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the story. I fell in love with Casey's voice. And particularly for me, I loved reading a book with a Latinx character in the center who lives at the White House rather than works at the kitchen of the White House. And that for me, that gorgeous positive representation was so compelling. And I just wanted to live in the world. And it was like, I don't think it was necessarily the first film I thought I would make, but when I read the book, I became so obsessed with the idea of making it that I was pretty shamelessly relentless with it.
I mean, did he have to campaign for it, or was it a pretty easy yes?
You can't say no to Matthew. You can try. I mean, but his passion, I think the thing that brought all of us to this project was Casey's words, right? And I think that what they did in the book was so like life affirming and just it created such a positive emotional experience. And I think that's what drew all of us to it and what we wanted and took really seriously, trying to help realize on the screen.
I mean, obviously, this film hinges so much on the casting, and you have this absolutely flawless ensemble. I want to ask the actors, how did you first become aware of the project? Did you read the book? And I want to start with Uma because how do you prepare to play the President of the United States?
Well, I don't know. I'm from the school of imagination. Just think big, dream big. You know, I read it. Matthew and I spoke. I knew so much about everyone involved, and I thought it was beautiful. And I feel it was a movie that I'd never seen before. Yep, a story I'd never seen before. So it was very exciting to get to infinitesimally be a part of it.
Was your performance as President Claremont? Did you look to any other performances or real life people to draw inspiration from?
I worked on the accent really. I was really scared of the accent. Worked on the accent, and I listened to a lot of women from different backgrounds, recordings of real women in Texas, and did a little digging into some people, real life people that were kind of the prototype or similar to who this woman could be, and tried to get a piece of them, and then walk her into the world.
When you're trying out an accent, do you like go out in public with it? Like, you know, I don't think you're ordering at McDonald's drive-through, but like, for example, you know, yeah, exactly.
My current 11-year-old really suffers with between this one and Ariana Huffington. She would be like, especially when she would hear Ariana, she'd be like, stop! she could hear me from any part of the house. It would just be like,
That's amazing.
So the household suffers. I leave the customers at McDonald's alone.
Rachel, for you, you know, everyone needs a Nora in their life, and so I just love this character so much. Had you read the book, and what attracted you to the project?
Yeah, I read the book after I auditioned. I guess I was introduced to it through the script, and then I got to read the book. And I immediately fell in love with Nora. I mean, there are so many amazing details that, you know, Casey includes about this beautiful kind of effervescent person that Nora is. And I think I just, you know, I jumped on the opportunity to try to get to embody even just a little bit of that. And I had a great conversation with Matthew and a great, I guess it was my callback, and we kind of talked a little bit about Nora and the vision for her. So yeah, I was excited to just be a part of this story and support Alex.
I mean, Nicholas and Taylor, I'm curious, how did the project come your way, and what appealed to you about the roles of Prince Henry and Alex? How much, if at all, did you relate to them when you either read the script or read the book? I mean, I know you're not a prince, but...
You don't know that.
That's true.
I remember getting sent the script, and you know, I was told that the book was really important and it really meant a lot to a lot of people, which is already, I think, coming into it, that's already an attractive option because, I mean, one, yes, it is a responsibility, but the ability to have resonance on that deeper level, I think, is really exciting. And then, you know, getting to know Henry and I think I've always been fascinated by people like Henry, people who are sort of trapped by circumstance, who kind of bear the sort of the weight of the responsibility of their family on their shoulders, and someone who's incredibly feeling. I felt like I knew him, and I felt like I wanted to care for him, and then, you know, just seeing the sort of amazing chemistry that kind of exists between Henry and Alex on text, and is I mean, it was such fun. Yeah, it's really fun and joyous, and that's something I also look for in projects.
Do you mean when you read the script, or do you mean when they were actually texting? Because the chemistry really happens over text, literally.
Well, both then.
Yeah. But it was like literally coming off the page.
Yeah, it's a really good sign, I think, when you can feel a sense of chemistry in the text already before you even meet the actor, and then you build that in person. But their sort of banter together, I felt was really fun. And it's a project that had multitudes to it, you know, being able to kind of portray the emotionality of these characters, but also the lightness is something that I find quite attractive as a performer.
Yeah. And Taylor, for you, I mean, the character has 3 names like you. It was perfect.
It's perfect. Lots of Z's. A friend of mine who works closely with Greg and Sarah, David Rappaport, called me and was like, hey, I think they're going to start meeting on this project. Have a read of the book. So I went to New York and I read it over the weekend, and I remember flying back and like sobbing, reading it. And I said, okay, I think there's something here. And then a few weeks later, you know, I think I met with Matthew, and, you know, I'm always attracted to, you know, normal people in extraordinary circumstances. And I think Alex is a blue-collar kid in an extraordinary circumstance. And I think I related to that because my family, you know, I grew up and my dad owned a body shop fixing cars. And so I was that blue-collar kid. And now I live in Hollywood in this extraordinary circumstance. And I just thought, oh, how fitting, you know? And then Alex, like, I'm a huge fan of The West Wing, and he reminded me of Sam Seaborn, and just sort of, you know, that Matthew, I think, he's his own person, but he has a very Sorkin way about his writing. And I love that stichomythia and that pace. And I kind of just fell in love with these 2 characters. And I don't think I've ever really played a kind of a bull in a china shop, how Alex is. He just kind of cannonballs into every situation. And I was so excited when we started the process, and then when Nick and I finally had a chem read, and we're like, oh, all right. Yeah.
I want to ask about that because chemistry is such an odd thing, and sometimes, you know, sometimes it's just not there for whatever magical reason, and sometimes people don't like each other and it is there, you know. And I understand it took a while for the 2 of you to like get in the same place so you could actually do this chemistry read. And Matthew, you were very insistent that it happened in person.
Yeah, but it didn't actually.
It didn't.
No, it was on Zoom.
It was on Zoom.
You were in New Orleans making Bottoms. You had just come back from your cousin's.
Yeah, Bottoms. Now on Amazon Prime.
And I was in London, and Sarah was in LA, and I was
like tracking Taylor's flight.
Yeah. Because and I was really dubious of the idea of doing a chemistry read on Zoom, because I was like, let's get in the room together, and but it was, you know, it was the best we could do at the time. And what was amazing was that they got on the Zoom, and we were all in different time zones, and it was instantaneous. Yeah, it was absolutely. I remember, like, out of my camera range on Zoom, texting Sarah after 5 minutes and going, "That's them." I mean, that, and the rest of the hour was just us getting to watch them play. And I remember the moment they just went off text and just started to ad lib and play and banter. Wow. I was like, "This is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun."
Was there a particular scene that the 2 of you did?
We did. I remember for the Storm Day fucking Castle. Yeah. That scene?
And the one after, and then the one after. No, the one after. No, the one after the first hookup in Alex's room about the key and all that stuff.
Oh yes, the key. The key.
How many times did you do it?
Just twice. I mean, once, and then Matthew gave us some notes, and he was like, "Can you please turn off that Apple TV behind you? It's so so distracting." I said, "Yeah, sure."
But I'm serious. It was like after 5 minutes, I was like, well, that's that. And then we just let them go for an hour and just sort of was like, well, you know, this is just entertainment for us.
Wait, hold on. I will say, because Nick was on set, they're like, Nick has 6 minutes. And we're like, what? Like 6 minutes to do a chem read? And it wasn't. We were there for like 45 minutes.
Really important.
I was going to say, the man made like 6 movies last year. Cut him a little slack. Was it pretty instantaneous for the two of you? Like, could you feel it on the Zoom?
I mean, yeah, we just, I think Taylor and I just, we get each other, and we just have a great banter, and yeah, I think we just were very lucky, and we're just very open, I think, as people, very communicative. I think we value the same things, and yeah, it just felt really fun, I think, to play, you know.
Yeah, we could not talk for hours and still have nothing to talk about.
We had rehearsals, which is like, we had 2 weeks of rehearsals. And so I remember the moment they first actually met in person, walking into the room, the rehearsals. And I left just for like 10 minutes to go deal with something. And I come back and it was like watching 2 old friends. Just
yeah.
Like, it was just sort of like any latent anxiety I may have had just like vanished in that first hour.
But then was it hard to do the scenes at the beginning when you're not getting along? Because this is your friend and you want to joke with them.
Well, I mean, we didn't shoot it chronologically. So I think actually the first sort of stuff we did, we were kind of already in the throes of love. Which was nice, right? Is that a term?
Sure, that's how that goes.
He's the writer. They just put me in front of the camera.
But as soon as they say, as Matthew said, action, he was Henry and I was Alex, and really, I think Nick did such a great job at doing lots of inside work, because that's where Henry lives as a character, is inside of himself, and doesn't give away too much, and doesn't really is not very expressive. And in that first scene, when you're like,
it sounds like you're insulting my performance.
You're really, really good when it comes out.
It sounds like you're saying I give nothing.
Prince Henry is reserved and Alex is the opposite.
Yes.
And so a lot of times we
Cannonball.
Yes.
And you.
Why are you defending him?
Thanks, Mom.
You're not his real mother. You don't have to defend him.
And so I definitely think I had a bit of lighter lifting when we had an action was said, because he had to go zoop, and I was like, all right, now let's 10x whatever I was just doing. And there was just lots of matcha.
I mean, and it's not it's not just the chemistry between the two of you, it's the whole cast. I mean, I love your scenes with your parents. I love your scenes with Nora. Was that all pretty, instantaneous as well? Or were you intimidated? I mean, Uma Thurman's your mom.
Yeah, you can't say Uma effing Thurman without that middle name there. And so the lead up to Uma coming was so exciting, because I think we only had you for a finite time, and so I was definitely nervous, but also looking forward to acting with somebody that I have admired for years, and same with Rachel. We hit it off right away, and I just feel like there was a sense of community on set, because we all knew what we were making, and conversations were endless about how to do this in the best, rightest way. And I think, like you said, it was all about the ensemble, how we reacted off of each other. And we just had so much fun.
Yeah. And Nicholas, for you, I mean, you're sharing scenes with Stephen Fry, who is like Hollywood royalty, playing British royalty. And I love your work with Ellie Bamber as well.
Well, Ellie's actually an old friend of mine as well. So it was really cool for us to get to work together. And Americans might not appreciate this as much, but Stephen Fry is a national treasure in the UK. So, that was a huge honor. And, he's someone who's just extremely open and vulnerable and interested, which I really value in a person as well.
I just love the idea that maybe Stephen Fry was a fan of the book and really wanted to be in this project. I think that's adorable. Casey, what was it like for you when you first saw, your Prince Henry and your Alex sort of come to life?
Oh my God. Oh, I think there was a moment at the end of my second day on set when I was sitting on a bench and you guys were sitting on either side of me, and I turned and Taylor's this close to my face, looking directly into my eyes, and he's like, "Hey, Casey," and I was like, "You have to go away. I'm gonna experience psychological collapse because this is literally someone I invented in my head is sitting in front of me." I just felt like it just such a seamless my imagination to reality moment that was surreal and hard to wrap my mind around, to the point that I kind of just sat there okay, what's happening? I think you both did I told you this after the movie, after I actually saw the final movie. I was I could not have imagined two better people to have taken care of those characters that I feel so protective of, and I know you guys feel as protective of them as I do. And that's really all you could ask for as an author. Honestly.
I texted Casey last week.
Yeah.
Because I finally watched the film by myself in its final edit. And it made me
Wait, you just saw it for the first time?
There's it has different stages and it's not color corrected or it's not mixed.
It's been out for a year.
I know. But we were,
He's very busy.
Embargo and very busy.
He has 6 minutes.
And we have 6 minutes. But I text Casey and I said, I finally have been able to watch it in its full beauty and enjoy it and not judge a performance or judge myself and truly see it for how the fans or the viewers saw it for the first time. And I was just blown away after reading the book, finally seeing the movie and kind of not, again, judging. I just had to text and tell her that was it.
It made me very happy. I think I want that for both of you. I want you to feel how loved you both are by me and by everyone who has read the book because you embody those characters so much.
I still haven't seen it.
You've seen it 75,000 times.
You don't have a Prime membership? Is that why?
No.
I don't know. I do remember.
Actually, who do I speak to about getting my paid membership covered? Because I'm getting ads.
They won't do it.
Brianna, can you come to the front?
Brianna.
Nick took it so seriously. I remember when we were dyeing your hair, and he was literally pulling up fan art, and he was like, "It has to be this color."
Wow.
So there was always a lot of real. Yeah.
It was almost ginger. I will say we were in a different. I remember there was one point where we were
a saga, wasn't it?
I dyed it 5 times in a week. We tried to tone it down to tone it up even to the color. And there was a point where we were saying, if it doesn't work this time, we're just gonna have to go brunette because your hair's gonna fall out.
No, we were gonna shave it next.
Henry with the
buzz cut.
People would have revolted, I think.
I just want to point out, Greg, over the course of your career, you have discovered so many amazing young talent. And obviously this film has a lot of established actors as well. And these are established actors, but they're sort of newer to some of us. What is the key to recognizing that talent and putting together a great ensemble?
For me, it's just, I always experience everything as an audience member first. And do you get excited by that person's performance, or do they have that thing you just want to sort of keep watching, or do they always feel truthful? I think that's a big part of it. And then what that I think allows for is this cast so finely displayed as directed by Matthew is comedy and drama all mixed and fused together. Because if it's a truthful performance, it can be sad or funny or sweet all in a single moment. And then it allows for the breadth of the story to go all those places.
Yeah.
And I think they all experience that. And there's a reason Uma's an icon. And, I would say her coming onto this film really, when you have a younger cast or you have a younger story or a newer story, that A-lister who comes in and makes it even all the more real is such a blessing and such a gift. And the fact that she anointed this film in the way that she did was and was really exciting for all of us and a threshold moment, I think, for the movie.
I love that you used the word anointed, like you came in and gave an official blessing.
I'm here to bless.
This film premiered on Amazon Prime Video last August, Taylor.
August. I don't think I pay for premium.
Brianna?
But it was an instant smash. I mean, both critically and with audiences. And it's a fairy tale, but it's also grounded in these real life timely issues, and people really responded to it. Was there a moment where you sort of realized that it had become a pop culture phenomenon, especially because you weren't allowed to do press at the time? So, you were kind of watching from a distance.
I think Nick and I were sharing things that people were sending us because I think we both knew that it was going to do well, but we didn't know how well. Mm-hmm. And so, when BuzzFeed and Hollywood Reporter and Deadline, and like everyone just keeps writing up on it, and it's just like laughable moments or their favorite moments. And you're like, oh, wow, this is really happening right now. But it was tough because we couldn't celebrate. And so Rachel and I were texting and Uma and I were chatting with each other. I mean, I think we were all kind of in different conversations with each other going, okay, I think it's doing well. I think it's doing very well.
Was there a group text, and who uses the most emojis?
I think I'm a singular texter.
There's a WhatsApp.
Oh,
There were a couple,
the Brits are crazy though.
maybe.
You're in that. I think I had to leave. It was a lot.
Flinny used a lot of emojis.
You did, lush.
Lush. Yes, indeed.
And Nicholas, you've seen the film, right? Just making sure.
I have seen it. Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? Really, the first time you've seen it?
No, the first time I've seen it and like didn't judge myself or our performance.
Oh, well, in that case, I still haven't seen it.
Do you have trouble watching yourself on screen?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. It must be really hard because you're kind of on screen a lot right now. So.
It's a saga.
I know. But I do think, I do want to point out that even though this is a very funny and romantic movie, your character in particular is really struggling with a lot. He's still coping with the death, the loss of a loved one, his identity. Was it ever a challenging place to be as an actor?
I honestly kind of relish those moments. And Henry has so many kind of heartbreaking moments, and he just wants to be seen. And it's kind of, as I was saying before, these are the things that really excite me as an actor. And I think I was just very lucky that I had some wonderful collaborators. I think back to that wonderful Kensington Palace scene, and regardless of not being able to watch yourself, you come away from the experience with a lot of gratification, I think, because it really, it feels like acting. It feels like pure acting, what it should be. Don't know if that answers your question.
No, absolutely. And the response, again, has been so overwhelming. When people come up and they want to talk to you, do they get really excited? Or, is there one question in particular they really want to ask?
For me, it's never a question. I think it's always they want to share an experience.
Yeah.
And I was chatting about this earlier, that it hits people differently, right? Yeah. And I've had multiple, this is mostly, I'd say 80% of the people that come up to me tell me that they considered suicide and then they read this book, or they contemplated it and saw our film. And like those moments are really, why you become an actor, to show somebody's life that maybe you don't understand and become that character, and people can relate to it, and it provides, just a small insight into someone's life that maybe you didn't understand before, and it can help somebody through a really tough time in their life.
Absolutely. I would also think one of the most challenging things about making this movie is not breaking and laughing during takes. I bet you're all professionals.
Matthew.
Really? The director.
Hey, you in the back.
I as a first-time filmmaker,
He's used to the theater. Just
You know that I was sort of like, oh, you know, I come from the theater, and you know, they like it when you laugh at their jokes. But I did, at first day or two, ruin a couple of takes.
Yeah, I can't blame you. It's a very funny movie. It's such a special film. I want to again congratulate you all on all its success. Thank you all for being such a great audience.